Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Talkaoke at Newham Festival. I'm going to go around and just ask for everyone's names.
Omar. And Michael.
Javon.
Evie.
Margot.
Ready for war.
Sean.
Okay, so I need to work out that I have to not get caught up around this. So we have been talking about career choices. What I would like to add in there is whether, we've spoken a lot about having certainty about what you want to do, about being an actor, about getting up early every morning to go and do a course. Do you need that certainty? Is it a problem if you don't know what to do?
I think certainty is helpful to kind of have clarity of mind, but I also agree with the lady earlier there who said actually it's okay not to know what you want to do. But I think I kind of wanted to ask you actually, because you're the younger generation and a spokesperson for all the young people in Newham, self-elected, do you feel pressure of choosing what you need to study and what you need to become?
Yeah, most certainly. For the past 2 or 3 years, so I've just finished my GCSEs like 3 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The demand that there's been for us to take more academic career choices has been massive, right? I mean, a recent government report from the Office of National Statistics says that there's a massive gap in vocational careers. Like, we don't have enough builders in the country. We don't have enough handymen in the country. And the problem is, because for so many years, we've been pushing academic jobs being as so much more important, and vocational careers have not been realized. There are so many people who are so much better at vocational jobs, but we've constantly been told, if you don't revise enough, you're going to end up working at Sainsbury's. If you don't revise enough, you're going to become a carpenter. If you don't revise enough, you're going to end like that. And they've sort of demonized going into more vocational career choices. And that actually will, in the long term, worsen our economy, because we won't have the people to do the basics in this country. And it's the foundations of this country are the main vocational core workers of this country, and the fact that those kind of people are being alienated off doing those jobs is going to be very problematic for our economy long term.
Well, good words again from Sean. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the People's Talk Show. Can I take your name?
Noel.
And we're talking about knowing or not knowing about what you want to do with your career, with your future. Do you know what you want to do in the future?
No, I've had my career over. My career is over. So living the retired life.
And talking from a different generational perspective, did you know what you wanted to do when you went into your career? And do you need to know?
Yes, it's very, very important to know what opportunities are out there, and if we have to go further afield, but education is the most important thing.
And just responding to Sean's point, because Sean, you were mentioning that maybe there's been too much of an emphasis on sort of academia and general education, and whether there should be more of a focus on vocational careers, careers like being a builder or working in a shop, and actually whether those careers have been sort of pushed down, denigrated a little bit. Margot, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I did, because I think one of the accusations earlier in the day was that young people, they don't have the determination to actually pursue careers. They much rather just get involved in knife crime, that kind of stuff, which is what makes Newham an unsafe place. But Sean said there's a lot of pressure there, and I think for Omar as well, becoming an actor is a very creative pursuit. So I think, and you were voicing that as well, there's a lot of pressure on how to perform the best, how to get the best careers with most money. But how are we even supposed to know which careers are for us? I mean, we could be doing psychology tests or whatever, and I kind of wanted to ask you, how did people know, how did you figure out what your career path is?
I just feel that too much emphasis is put on exams and things like that. when it's all academic, where there should be more open to see other things, to get involved in other things, but like that it is such a young age to be setting them such high targets,
Adam, come and join us. We're talking about, this is the People's Talk Show. We're talking about whether it's okay or not okay to know about what you want to do in the future, and we're talking about whether there's too much pressure on people to pursue a certain career. Can I ask what your name is?
Tina.
And can I ask what you do, Tina?
I used to work as a trainer and I got made redundant.
Okay, so you've had to sort of rethink what you want to do next. So do you know what you want to do next?
Haven't got a clue, and it's not easy because it seems really difficult to kind of go sideways.
Does anyone have? You were agreeing before with what Margot was saying.
With what Sean was saying. I was agreeing with what Sean was saying because when I was in school, I was definitely encouraged to do more academic subjects. Like, I was actually set up right before I left to do my course. I was set up to be a forensic investigator. I was gonna do chemistry, biology, psychology and philosophy for my A-levels, and at the last minute I dropped out and I decided to do what I actually wanted to do. And a lot of my teachers, they were like, the same thing about like, if you don't study, you're gonna have to be a artist or like something, and they say it like, oh, that's a terrible idea, you're never gonna have enough money. Like, they set it up like people who do that have only done it because they can't do anything else and not because they wanted to. And like, when I left school, I was so scared to even fail. The idea of failing when I went off course to do something vocational, it would have just been like, it was this huge amount of pressure to do well, and that again makes you put up with a lot more. Like, there are a lot more things you'll put up with when you're trying to prove a point, right?
I really love, that's a really good point. And also I loved what you said about being an artist. It's like, as if you failed in everything else, then maybe you can be an artist. And I had a conversation with my flatmate the other day, and she said, being an artist, like, you can't just like one day decide to be a doctor. But you can one day decide to be an artist, and it kind of made me thinking about, what is that, where does that come from? And there's some kind of degree of like double standards about like, everybody likes to be entertained, but I'm really sorry for you if you want to be an actor, it's really shit money and no rewards, but when you're successful, you're really successful, and there's the whole celebrity thing mixed in with it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if people are artistic around this table, but
Oh, I wanted to kind of know, like, have you? I think it's interesting about like thinking about, you can just become an artist. 'Cause I think like it, you have to. I would still think that you'd have to then. I feel like you'd wake up and be like, I'm gonna start to become an artist. So I'm gonna start producing work. I'm gonna start to try and make money. But it's still not like that instant overnight thing. But I just also want to know, are you now a chef? Are you now? Are you still finishing like? Well, I was really intrigued about a cookery course because again, we're talking about the fact that we don't know much about vocational activities, and I'm like, yes, I go and eat out, and I really love going to eat out, but I don't have any idea about how people go into becoming making all the wonderful food that I want to eat.
I think becoming a chef is very easy, but it's not easy so much, because I did my 3-year course and then I worked as a pastry chef for another year, and I think the work was hard work and long hours and shit pay, but the actual work itself is very rewarding, and most places will pay for you to do the course just so that you can come back and work with them. But the problem, I think, with being a chef in London right now is just workplace standards and how they treat people, because there's so many chefs. It's like you're kind of replaceable. Like, people cycle in and out so often. It's like, do I have to treat you with any kind of, like, you're not going to be here long, right? Kind of thing.
And so can I ask you, why do you think that we view some professions as being serious professions and others as not?
Well, I think it's just a perception that art is it's creative and it's different, and people, you know, like that we have to have art in our lives. We have to have the theatres and all the different things that contain the arts, that it's very, very important. You know, like that we can't all be artists and we can't all be bankers or doctors, but it's very important that we give everybody the opportunity to be what they are, what they want to be.
And in terms of... Yeah, sorry, are you an artist yourself, sir?
Kind of, yeah.
What do you do?
Photography.
And are you still doing photography now?
Yeah. Just take as many pictures as you can and one of them will turn out right.
And how did you get into doing that? Was that a hobby that became a professional career?
Just a hobby. I've never made it a profession, you know.
Because hello, by the way, this is a pop-up talk show. You can join in anytime. But I've got a question for you. It's interesting they say that you're a photographer, because now, what is happening to your job though? Because everybody's got an iPhone now, and everyone's a photographer. Do you know what I mean? Instagram photographers. I don't know. Are you guys Instagram photographers? Do you put stuff on Facebook all the time? No. What's your preferred social media? What social media are you guys on? Instagram. Okay, so would you say that you're a photographer? Because Instagram is basically picture-based. Okay, we've got a real photographer here. Are you jeopardizing his job? I don't know. No?
No.
Well, come and tell us.
Why? I mean, is there any place for photographers nowadays with iPhones?
I don't think so, because whenever I want to put the kind of photograph that is my favorite, they wouldn't be there to do it for me, so I can do it for myself, and I do it the way I like. So
we've had a few new people around the table, so I think we might go round and just say who we are. I'm Kane.
Hi, I'm Dee.
What was your name again? Sorry.
Dee.
Lovely name.
Sean.
Abby.
Omar. I'm Michael.
Javon.
Evie. Oh, final thoughts.
Michael and Siobhan, do you have any final thoughts for us today, or any questions that you want to leave us with?
One, I think those two should be prime minister. They'll do a better job than what we've got right now. Inside the Actor Studio is the name of a TV show. Would be very useful for you. Not at all. You know what the most common family history is for successful actors? It turns out most of the parents are divorced. It's just insane, but that's what it creates. Anyway, it's like when you watch a TV show, you go, it's in front of a classroom, and it's one successful actor with an interviewer, and they go through the entire history of the career, right? 99% of the time, parents are divorced. I don't know why, but that's what it does. Anyway, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Any last words?
Last thoughts, I would say, take things as they come. As far as for Sean, just, when you do go ahead and whatever you pick, just do your best and take it easy, because life gets too stressful. I feel like people don't pay attention enough to how much stress is in modern life, especially when you feel like you are a normal person with everything you need. You kind of want to say, I shouldn't feel stressed. I have a roof and food and clothes, but there are things that stress you out, and you need to really take care of your mental health, is my last word. Okay?
It's a really good point. And do you have any question that you would like to put to the table before we go?
My question is about our current situation with Brexit and how are we feeling in the circle about Brexit?
How are we feeling in the circle about Brexit? Sean, I saw you had your hand up. Was that a Brexit-related comment that you had to make?
People first.
Yeah, sorry, can you introduce us?
Oh, I'm Ray, and I'm working with Bart's Health, and we're doing Std and Hiv tests, which is very exciting, I think, because we get to educate the youth and adults as well. So if you want to get tested, we've got a van opposite the main entrance and also a youth area not too far from where we are at the moment.
And do you have any thoughts about Brexit? Because that seems to be the sort of Claxton subject that we're bringing up.
I actually don't care. I really don't care. Because, you know, somebody mentioned mental health earlier, so I think that I actually don't watch the news. So when you don't watch the news, you don't get affected by negativity. So that's something that I try to strive for.
I think Brexit might be a sort of terrible conversation to have, but I think there's probably a better conversation there, just around how you cope with stress and how you step away from stressful situations. Can I just get your name?
Yeah, Irfan Ali.
Lovely to meet you. And no, are you sure?
Not yet.
So in a very in a stressful world at the moment with Brexit going on, with global warming, is there ways in which we can sort of take a moment and chill? Is this what this day is doing for us?
I think linking the exam stuff with the mental health stuff, again, the pressure they put on you to be able to do things in a certain way is massive. And the thing is, so I deal with lots of stuff. I spend around 50 nights a year in hospital, take around 40 different medications a day, and sort of when you put that on you, plus exams, plus everything, and plus the current political situation, it's not much good for anyone. And the fact that the world is more and more focused on, more and more people are focused on themselves and developing themselves via social media, and everything is a lot more academic. People need to take a minute and just to think about life itself, because life is so busy at the moment with the workplace getting so much busier and busier. You made a brilliant point earlier on. The British workplace system is broken. Like nurses, they only have a 12-hour shift. They're doing 14, 15 hours because there aren't enough nurses on the job. So the British workplace is broken. The British education system is broken. The British health system is broken. Everything is broken, and everyone is affected really deeply in everyone's mental health. And I think the latest statistics from local and national children mental health services say that mental health disorders are getting worse and worse, because again, body image is because people are more concerned about their body image, people are more concerned about the way they look, people are more concerned about what other people think about themselves, and that sort of more demand to link within other social norms and so on and so forth just made lots of people's lives harder. And the fact that we're all individuals and that we should be able to be ourselves.
Can we have a round of applause for Shana, our future Prime Minister? We have a few new people around the table, so I think we might just go around and say who we are, and also say maybe how we chill out, how we sort of chill out, make sure that we're calm.
Yeah, hello. If you want to listen something about Brexit, yeah, I do support the Brexit, but why they delayed too much extra, and why they are not so confident. So British should be confident on his own. They can stand on their own feet. Why they are depending on others, and why they are thinking about depending on Europe? Many other nations, they are living without Europe, even in a better way. So they should do it timely, and then they will get benefits. If otherwise, I don't think so. If they're prolonging, it's only going in a negative. Well, today topic should be the match, England. If it win the World Cup, we should discuss about this, not the Brexit.
World Cup. So so how do you chill out? How do you chill out from work, sir?
Sorry?
How do you chill out from work? How do you sort of calm yourself down when things get really busy and hectic?
I can't get your point. How you chill out? I do my own business and just enjoy my business. That's it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, madam. What's your name?
Adelina.
And how do you relax? Yeah, I see. Yeah.
I'm not sure actually.
Thank you. And how? Yeah, sorry.
I could kind of say, are you watching football? What? Oh, cricket. I thought you said, World Cup of cricket. Yeah. Okay. No, because I don't watch. I don't watch sports. Anyway, whatever. This man just said a profound thing, which is like, let's focus on England. We're gonna be okay on our own. I say we, but actually, you. I'm not from this country. But anyway, I kind of wondered what people thought about this, and can we actually ever relax, having Brexit looming? I mean, what other kind of? Do people have views on Brexit?
Yeah, and is it possible to relax? How do people relax? How do you relax?
I usually just lay down on the sofa. That's how I relax. And I just calm myself down with a stress ball.
You calm yourself down how?
With a stress ball.
With a stress ball. That's really lovely. So, any other ways that people like to relax?
Before I leave, I'll tell you how I relax. I eat good food because I'm a vegan, so I think whatever you put into your body, that's what the body suppresses, the mind will express. So I think if you're eating good food and you're feeling good about the food that you're eating, then it all, serotonin, which is the feel-good chemicals, is coming from the stomach. So be careful on what you're eating because that's going to have an effect on what you're thinking.
I think we had a comment over here. Did you want to add anything? How do you like to relax?
I like to relax by creating comics because I like art and writing, and I do this with my friends, and I think art is a very good privilege to have because you can express yourself through art, like through paintings and drawings and stuff.
Being creative is a good way to relax.
I wonder whether creative cooking could be a thing. I mean, we've got a vegan around the table, and I've heard that children are terrible at being vegan, but we've got some wisdom here maybe coming from a vegan man. Is it easy to be vegan? Can you be creative, or do you just eat plain raw vegetables? I mean, do people like vegetables here even now?
Yeah, what do people think about vegetables? Can we have a hand up for everyone that likes vegetables? Ooh! And how many people here are vegetarian or vegan around the table? Sort of. So you've got a warm crowd. Do you want to talk a bit about how is it being flexitarian? What does that involve?
So you balance an evil diet of meat and vegetable, and being vegetarian, which is kind of easy because it's like a balanced diet.
And did you say that you're vegetarian?
A bit, sometimes. Sometimes I can have something vegetarian at school because having just meat, you have to kill animals to get meat. So and some animals help us, and every living thing should be equal.
That's a very good point.
Absolutely, little man over there, very well done. Because I think if you, being a vegan, it is difficult. However, if you look at when babies are born vegan, right? Because they have no food yet. So therefore they're not. It's what they're being given to eat. So if you take away the word vegan, I'm just eating the way that I'm supposed to eat. I'm eating the way that my body is designed to eat. Why should I eat an animal that just for the taste, right? A pig is not bacon, right? Cow is not steak. It's an animal. It's got feelings. So therefore, when you start to cook, when you start to cook, you can replace things. So instead of using chicken, I'm West Indian, so it's very difficult to be vegan sometimes when you're West Indian. But you know, if you instead of chicken, I might use jackfruit or pineapple. And you know, I'm over 40 years old, and I don't think like I look 40, and it's because of the way that I eat.
You're not a 50 something. Well, I don't eat meat. I'm almost like 55 kind of, but I don't eat meat, so and it's good for me.
We've got a lot of new people around the table. Obviously, we're talking about vegetarianism, veganism. Can we just go around and say who we are? We'll start over here.
I'm Clementine.
Clementine, lovely to meet you, Clementine.
Ray. I'm Ray.
I'm Ellis. Lucas.
Sean.
Sean's going to be the next Prime Minister.
Dahlia.
Dahlia.
Zephaniah.
Can you say your name again?
Zephaniah.
Zephaniah, that's an amazing name.
Adelina.
Omar.
Adam.
Joshua.
I think we'll return to Clementine because you came in clicking, very much clicking. So you agreeing? Are you vegetarian?
I'm transitioning to vegan. Yeah, yesterday I had my birthday barbecue and it was all vegan food.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
And so, what would be your advice to anyone that is transitioning to being vegan?
I think don't make yourself guilty if you can't move straight away because it's the thought that counts. So yeah.
So have you been good so far, or have you had little wobbles along the way?
I don't really have wobbles, just mistakes. Sometimes I eat foods that I don't check and I don't know that aren't vegan, but it's not with the intention of eating milk or anything like that. So yeah, just accidents happen.
It seems to be quite a difficult thing, you know, you go into a supermarket to pick up bread and you think that it would be vegan, but it might contain egg or dairy products. Do you have any advice about how you make that transition?
Yeah, so on the food labels is actually quite interesting. So when you look at food labels, they will now highlight in bold milk, egg. Those are the two things that they'll highlight. So when you do buy bread, or say for instance croissants, I looked at croissants the other day, and croissants can contain traces of egg, but if you look at the food labels, it will highlight whether you've got milk or egg. And actually you don't need to drink dairy products, as you might know, because there's a lot of dairy products, there's a lot of dairy free products, and even egg substitutes as well. So you could cook anything that you're used to cooking, you could make it just in a vegan way. That's all it is.
I've got a question because I mean we've got like a younger generation here, and you said you transitioning to being vegan. I don't know about you guys. Are you like flirting with the idea? Are you vegan?
I was vegetarian. I am vegetarian. I was vegan for some time, but then I stopped because it was a bit hard to keep up with. Usually nowadays I find it a bit boring that I have to argue with people about why we shouldn't have to eat meat and why we don't need to eat meat, and why if we can't eat it raw like dogs can, then why are we eating it? We can't eat an animal's flesh off its skin because our teeth would break. They say we have canines, but they're barely canines if you compare it to a lion or something. And people who are supposedly set one in my school can't even understand basic biology like that and things like that.
And can I get an opinion from, is there anyone on here who is a meat eater and would like to defend why eating meat is good? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a meat eater, and you know, I think humans, we evolved eating meat, you know. We were hunter-gatherers, we hunted and we ate meat, and none of us would have, you know, we wouldn't be alive today if our ancestors didn't hunt and eat meat. It was crucial to the survival of the species.
Okay, so that's a point about, you know, that we that is part of our history, that is part of our culture, and I can see two opposing opinions. We're going to go over to Clementine first.
I agree with you. At some point in our history, a long time ago, it was necessary to survive, but at this point, we've evolved so far as a species where we have technology and things like that. We can recreate different types of foods that have similar textures and still provide us with the same amount of nutrients. So it is valid to say that we needed to do this in the past, but currently we've evolved so far that we don't need to rely on these kind of sources for food.
Oh yeah, a keyword you used in that sentence was, and we don't have to eat meat anymore because nowadays in supermarkets and everything we have choice, and I'm pretty sure anybody with a sense of empathy would choose not to kill an animal, but unfortunately that's just not apparent in the meat industry and dairy industry. They don't really tell you these types of stuff, and while before people were hunter-gatherers, they used to hunt meat, but it's because there was nothing else to eat. They didn't know how to farm. Now we have all this information and technology, we don't need to proceed with animals dying for the sake of taste or something like that.
I have a question. I mean, if you were to eat meat, should it be a case that you have to kill an animal if you want to eat it? I guess, is there a disconnection from the stuff that we buy in the supermarket and understanding where it came from?
I kind of think like I never had a problem with like people eating meat, but I think it's kind of like bothering me a bit more, and I think it's just like it's boring like explaining to people. But also I know that I'm like quite guilty of, I aspire to be vegan, vegetarian, but now and then, for instance, when I'm really run down, I'll have a kebab, but like a nice one, but I know it's still a murder. And I kind of wonder whether we can ever, whether in the future it's even optional to be vegetarian, non-vegetarian, like looking at where the environment is going, how much damage the farming is doing, whether we should just like never have option of eating eating meat full stop, because actually we are damaging the planet. Never mind whether we're living in accordance to our beliefs that animals, somebody said earlier, animals are humans too. I quite like that. I'm going to take it. But actually, does planet require us to stop eating meat? Or maybe stop breeding as well? Maybe we should stop having sex because there's like too many people here. In Newham, there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm just saying.
So yeah, I mean there's a big question from Margot around do we think enough about the environmental impact of what we do? Do we think enough when we eat food? When we were talking about littering before, and whether there's more that we should be doing to educate people about littering?
I've spoken to a lot of people about this and how the way you're treating the environment through what you're eating and what you're disposing of your rubbish. Do not consider this when you do stuff like this, and they tell me they don't care because it's their life right now, and then what happens in the future doesn't really affect them. That's the most common answer I've got. And I think it's a bit unfortunate because some people are arrogant. They'd rather choose convenience than the future. They'd rather think about the present than what could be next, like growing a tree, for example.
I've encountered a lot of people who claim to be environmentalists, but they're really fake about their intentions. It's really superficial, because I believe if you were actually environmentalists, then you'd be more concerned about the well-being of animals, because the meat industry is one of the main contributors to global warming or climate change and things like that, damage to the environment. So to eat meat and support the meat industry and then go say you care about what's going on with the environment is very hypocritical.
One thing that's a massive problem is that actually fruit and vegetables can be quite expensive. Because if you pop down to the local corner shop, you can get a box of chicken and chips for £1. And the amount of school children you see at the end of the day getting a box of chicken and chips is so scaringly common because it's so cheap, whereas fruit and vegetable and meat replacement substances like corn are so expensive. And with the current the current broken British workplace system where people are working 12-hour shifts and are unable to find the time to cook a meal, and their only possible way is to take the most convenient choice, which would be to take a takeaway or get a box of chicken and chips quickly from the corner shop, because it's not that easy cooking a meal, and it's not that easy being able to afford high quality fruit and vegetables. So for some people there's no choice. What I think should happen is maybe meat should be made more expensive, maybe tax it a little bit more, and actually we could use that to help promote environmentalist schemes. I mean, it's a win-win. But the problem is that it's too unaffordable for individuals to buy fruit and vegetables, and it's going to be really problematic.
Yeah, I agree with that, because the way the food industry has been shaped around, it's been shaped around animals, and although they're one of the most expensive to take care of, they're the most how do I explain this? It's environmentally damaging. They use so much water. How do I explain it? the food industry is so shaped around meat that it's become so cheap, and it kind of makes you question the cost of life and how things are so expensive but so convenient to get. And yeah, that's about it. I can't explain it.
Yes, what these wonderful people next to me are saying is that it is very expensive to eat very healthy, but if we don't carry on buying the vegetables, or if we don't go to buy our vegan sandwiches at Subway, or KFC are going to be releasing their vegan burger again, you know, we need to go into places like that to show that there is a demand for vegan sandwiches, because then these fast food places will cater to people like us that don't want to eat meat. Now, I'm probably going to be a bit controversial here, then I have to leave. If vegetables and healthy things were cheaper for us to buy as a society, then the government is not going to be making any money, because the dairy industry is heavily focused on financial gain, just like cigarettes.
Wow. This is an actual line.
Do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave us with? Any final questions you want to leave us with? You could change. I mean, we're going down. You know, we can expand this quite a bit.
Well, I don't know if my topic is a bit taboo, but I am working in sexual health, and we've got a stand just 2 doors down. So I wonder what the youth thinks about when we say sexual health.
It's a very good question. Can we have some thoughts on the youth? What do you think when you hear sexual health or sexual education?
I'm not sure.
Sure. Anyone? Margot, are you a representative of the youth?
No, yes. No, I think it's a very good question. I just wanted to say that I grew up in Poland, and certainly that's not something that you talk about, sexual health or sexual education at all. There's just a kind of knowledge that I had to kind of acquire on my way, and a lot of my kind of growing up happened in the UK, so I'm kind of influenced positively by that. But I still think that sex education is just like a bit of a taboo. Like, I don't think it's about it's not an age-related thing. I think actually younger people are much better at talking about sex than like people say of my generation, like genuinely talking about sex, not pornography, not playing it cool. You know, I think young people have more knowledge about it. But I don't know. Maybe you agree or disagree. I don't know.
Do we have a young person's opinion here? Do you have any thoughts on sex education?
Like protection against AIDS and stuff like that. Learn how to have sex and all that. Yeah.
I mean, are they teaching you at are you at school? Are they teaching you things like that at school? Because I never got taught. I went to Lister in Plaistow. Is there any Lister students here? No? Okay. And they never taught us anything about about that topic, about sexual health. So I wonder what schools everyone else is going to and what age they are as well.
Yeah, my school has been very inefficient at teaching us about using our bodies and things, because okay, so sexual education is quite frowned upon in schools and things, and right now it's not really taught to students, even though our bodies at this age in history, we were developed at this point in time to obviously give birth, like even in Jesus' times. Being 14 and things was normal to have relationships and things, and nowadays we've kind of drifted apart from that, and we haven't really taught people, and when they hit 16 or things, and when their bodies are at the right time and they do it, they're not really supported. They don't really have many services or facilities or information about what they were supposed to do. And STIs and things, we're not taught about these types of things. There's information that's hidden from us for no reason, absolutely, even though we're at a point in time in which I can't explain.
Sean, what were you going to say?
I think there is now, I mean, for the past couple of decades, it's been very poor. I think there is starting to be an increase of discussion of sexual health in sex ed, because, like, I think, so the last sex ed lesson we had was in year 10, and they literally, can I say this on radio? They literally had a dildo and put a condom on it.
I mean, we used a banana and a condom on at school.
We used a literal, yeah. So I think there is more success in explaining sex ed, but the problem is it's still a taboo, and we don't realize the long-term sort of impacts of us, and I think, yeah, relationships and sex education is really important, but it's too much of a taboo for it to happen yet.
I mean, you probably got some points about this, but I think you made a really interesting distinction. There's the sex education and there's the relationships, and I think they're not the same thing. And I wonder whether relationships can be taught at school. But
I was just going to say, I feel like the reason schools are a bit reluctant to teach us about sex education is because they think if they talk to us about sex, then we're going to go and have lots of sex. But the reality is that young people are going to have sex regardless, so it's more important for the schools to educate us about how to stay safe, how to prevent from infections and diseases and things like that, and just how to practice safe sex. Because I used to go to St. Angela's, and when I left in year 10, a lot of people in my year group got pregnant. So, and I feel like St. Angela's, while I was there, they didn't really do a lot to tell us about. We just had biology lessons. It was like, you know, penis, vagina, sperm, egg, pregnant. But it wasn't really, you need to use a condom or consider contraceptives like intrauterine devices or the pill or anything like that. And a lot of girls did end up getting pregnant.
I guess to just sort of make a controversial point there, is it the school's place to be educating about sex? Isn't that something that parents should be doing?
Oh no, I think it should be, because I think you've got a wider range of thoughts and opinions maybe in school, and I have to say I'm actually really surprised that it's still so similar to like even in my day. I think mine was fine, but it wasn't great. It was like very like practical, and I sort of read all these like Guardian articles about how like sex education is much better, that we're teaching people about relationships, like there's no pressure to say yes to sex, which I think can be a really big thing, and like teaching that not just about heterosexual sex but gay sex as well, and then different types of relationships, and that's all okay. So I just have to say I was like really surprised, because from my perspective, having left school now, it seems to be presented in the media as much better.
Oh yeah.
Small increase in. I mean, there's only been very slow progress, because again, it's the general taboo of, oh no, it's sex again, and you still see people in class, and there was like middle class discussion like the other week, like just before our GCSE started. They gave us like a final lesson on sex, and they were like, oh, do you know what an IUD is? Do you know this is? Like half of the boys didn't even know what a period was. It's not great.
Have you got something to say? Yeah.
Yeah. So in my day, when I was at school, the sexual health education wasn't very great. It was rubbish. So, they didn't really teach us. We didn't really learn anything from them. And then.
Do you think that kind of made a difference to how you think about sex or relationships, like in your current life? I mean, do you think that made any impact on you, because the fact that the sex education wasn't so strong when you were at school?
No, I think you just have to like find your own way, learn about it on your own. I think young people nowadays, they have access to more tools than we do. Like they have the internet on their fingertips, so they can do their own research on the internet and learn about sexual health and things.
I feel like the whole reason we have an education system is to make sure everyone's learning things at the same consistency, so everyone's learning the same thing. So what you're saying about the internet is absolutely right. We do have access to more things, but sex education is still taboo. And while you're saying we have access to more things, we won't go and learn science by ourselves if the school don't force us. We're not going to go learn trigonometry if the school doesn't force us. And it's a little bit similar with the situation about sex education. Unless the school is there to teach us about it, then some people might not, some people will, but it's about the consistency in education. And someone brought up the point earlier about parents. It's whether it's parents' job to teach us or not. But again, I go back to the point about the education system being there to make sure everyone's learning the same things, because some parents might not want to talk about it and some will. So again, it's about education system stepping in.
I think it is down to the parents and the teachers as well. It should come from both. But I think when I was at school, parents had the option of pulling their kids out of those classes. If they didn't want those kids in the sex education classes, they could withdraw them.
I think it's a bit disappointing that sex education is still taboo in education and all these other things, because we learn a lot of things in school that will never apply anywhere outside of school. And the fact we're not being taught lifelong lessons about sex education and how we're going to be able to utilize our bodies compared to chemistry or physics, which we might never really go over or recollect in the future, it's pretty upsetting. And the fact that parents have to teach their children this, even though parents aren't even being taught how to parent. They're not even taught how to cook in school. They're not being taught sex education as well. Goes to show how limiting the education system is as well. We're not even taught how to use money, and it's only now that the government is considering financial engineering and other things that we should have been learning a long time ago. Like, our whole system is built on money, and we're not even taught things like this.
Yeah, this has like taken me to a different area of what I originally came in for, which was well-being. I heard that, and I agree with what everyone is saying. But one of the things that just came into my mind was that schools, they teach us about, in my days, Bunsen burners and countries and IT and William Shakespeare, which is all very nice and all very great, but how does that help me if I'm feeling really low and don't know how to cope with that, or I come to a decision in my life where I need to cope with that emotionally? What's Shakespeare going to do for me then, or what's science going to do for me then? It didn't help me. And so the same thing with sexual education, it does need to be taught at school as a way of our well-being, as a way of children's well-beings, because actually, we spend most of our years at school and not with our family. So that's when kind of I say lazy parents, but parents that are too shy to teach their children about sex education. So what happens? They turn on Channel 4 or Channel 5 and watch Love Island, and is that supposed to be a representative of what sex or what relationships are? Don't watch rubbish like that.
So I guess it brings up a good point of whether schools are fundamentally teaching you guys the wrong things, or things that it's all good, as you say, to teach about Shakespeare, but actually, how is Shakespeare relevant to you?
I just wanted to say, about on the point of Love Island and stuff. Also, some people were saying earlier that actually kids are kind of more out and about, more so than their parents, and therefore they've got a more current knowledge of what is actually happening, what the reality is like. And then we were talking about how there are schools only for girls, schools only for boys, and actually we should bring people together. To me, Love Island is like this example, this heightened example of what people do when they are brought onto one, island, I suppose. In that case, I think we all have it in us to behave like this. I think if we all got a load of money and we could do any kind of plastic surgery we wanted, or have the bodies that we wanted to, I think we'll be even worse than people on Love Island. And it's just the lack of opportunity for us to actually go and do it, act out our biggest dreams / nightmares, that prevents us. Just because these people are rich and they can get away with it, they got TV interest to be on TV. I actually think that we all aspire to that on some level? We kind of secretly all want to be on Love Island?
Sean, you're agreeing. Do you secretly want to be on Love Island?
I guess. Because the thing is, right, it's a representation of what we think we could be, because look at them, like they're so fit and hunky, like they're 6 foot tall and like the exact opposite of that. And the fact that he sort of, Love Island sort of shows, oh, it's like a fantasy and it's like a dream of what life could be like, when it's completely unrepresentative of what true life is, but it sort of gives you hope, but it's all completely unrealistic and all completely fake.
Yeah, I think we're being quite, we're being quite down on Love Island at the moment, but isn't there something positive about reality TV shows like that?
You know what, right? Yes, okay, they might be 6'2", they might be hunky or whatever, all those descriptions that you say, but when is Channel 4 or Channel 5 going to show a TV show that doesn't gloss something up? So we might aspire to being like that, but that's all the media shows us. Actually, you're perfect the way that you are. You're a very intelligent boy, and so I hope that you don't turn into what these people are on TV, because I think you're more intelligent than that. My final thought would be, why would people want to gloss something out before they put onto social media? How many people would take a photo of themselves right now and just put it on social media? They wouldn't. They'll start to edit.
I don't know how.
You know?
I don't know how to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, the whole media has been defined by this whole false sense of perception of beauty, and how we're all meant to fit the certain agenda of having a big butt or lip fillers or something like that. But in reality, there's no shows glorifying being a genius or something like that, or being good in your field. Everybody is just okay with this sense of mediocrity in the media of look like this and that and that. Therefore, it just destroys people's self-esteem. And the fact this is what's on TV, and this is our main source of media. This is what people go home and watch when they finish work. This is their source of inspiration. It's not really healthy for anybody in general.
I'm gonna say I agree with that, because it doesn't make you feel very healthy. I also think it's very fake in the way that like relationships come about nowadays as well, because they're very like boys and girls date and that's it kind of thing. And like you see them and they go off into their groups and like, oh, the boys say this and the girls say this. I'm like, I thought we left this a long time ago. Like that's not how I interact with my like friends. And I also secretly want just like a really, really beautiful bisexual person to go onto Love Island and just like really mess things up, just like everyone's kind of questioning some things, just like really throw it out there. That's what I want from Love Island. It's just a bit of difference.
Yeah, so if we were given the reins to program sort of mainstream, like Saturday night entertainment for ITV, what sort of shows would you guys like to, you have the bisexual version of Love Island. Is there any other shows that people would like to see on television that you don't think are on at the moment? Ooh.
I feel like the media has done a good job in portraying the government as this amazing and so clean group of people, considering the fact all this is going on in the world. Like, we're bombing countries to get banks in there, and we're bombing countries because we say they have bombs in them, but in reality we're the ones doing the most damage. People are just filled with this false agenda of security and this only narrow-minded perception of what they see in the news. And the news is people's only sense of the news in general. Like, they don't understand anything to go and venture out for themselves. And is this right or wrong? Is my government doing what's right for me? Is my tax going towards something worthwhile? Like, people pay road tax, but is that really going towards your roads? Like, there's bumps everywhere, there's holes in the floors, but these are the types of things your government will tell you. Like, where can we push something against what we're seeing? Can we see the bigger picture in TV? Like, this is what we see every day. Why can't we see a change once in a while?
And how would that, is that not what the news's function is to sort of, or sort of investigative journalism is to expose the truth behind how the country's run?
You can go.
No, I was just going to say, having like read a little bit, I don't think we have the same budgets as we do to like pay journalists anymore. So we don't have people who have enough time and maybe money to really go and try and like seek out stories in the same way. But you know, maybe it's like maybe being a politician, maybe a journalist. You shouldn't just be a journalist. Like maybe you should do other things. Oh, hello, come.
You come back. We're talking about what we would like to replace Love Island with on what would be our perfect late night television.
That's kind of a tough one. Very tough. Oh, the one thing I would replace it with is him getting kicked.
You getting kicked? Wow, that's weird.
You know celebrities, they look like they've got everything in life, like nothing's wrong with them. They've got no problems. I'd like to see like how they're really like all behind their secrets. Like what's life like for them? Like see our life, we got it all hard here. Like because we're not like really rich like them. I'd like to see like how life is really like for them. Like what struggles they've got. And yeah.
And I think
I saw this post, and it was a collection of news articles on the news, and it was everyone saying the same thing at the same time. And it goes to show how flawed journalism is, because these people could be puppets. They're just working for an industry, working for another industry that's working for the government. These people are getting paid to say what they can say, because keep in mind, these are government-funded shows. They show what they want people to see. Like Grenfell, they showed that for a week and then they stopped showing it for a long time, but it's still an issue that still has to be solved and nothing's been done about it.
Oh, so do you think that maybe people, like normal people who've just got day jobs, should do a bit more journalism themselves, like maybe like tweet things that are going on, or try and like spend, like, should we turn it into a hobby more because we feel like we can't trust journalists anymore?
I feel like news is there's very big lines between news. So if you believe something and you want to report on it, they'll call you a conspiracy theorist if you're not working for like BBC News or something like that. So I feel like on one hand there's like power to the people, or like power in numbers. So if loads of people are saying the same thing, then maybe people believe it. But then again, I feel like I said, they'll label you as a conspiracy theorist. Like there was this one girl, she was a refugee and she'd actually drowned, and she was drowned by her bullies, and they're not reporting it or anything. Everyone's saying, for Madeleine McCann, she got millions of funding from, I think, the government. They put a lot of money in to find her for one girl, and this one girl, they ruled her death as an accident. They said she jumped into the river because it was really hot. And she just drowned, but they found bite marks on her and things like that. So everyone on Twitter is like, you need to get justice for this girl. There's evidence is right there, but they just want to ignore it. There's no excuse for the bite marks on her. So that's why I'm saying media is there's very big margins between how you believe people.
And the fact that I don't know about the rest of the table, but it's not something that has come to me at all. How are we getting this information or not getting this information? Because I think there's a group of people who want to hear about stories like that and then be like, no, this is an injustice. But how can you guarantee it'll actually filter through to you? How do we know that? How do we break out of our bubble?
But isn't that the whole point of social media? Is to give a way for things that don't generally get heard to get heard? But then on the other side also, isn't there a risk that you sort of talk about the bubble, that you create this environment where you only hear the stories that sort of respond to your worldview or that you can trust?
So I feel like this is just an example, and maybe me being biased, but Twitter, it's like a platform where anyone can just put out whatever they want instantly. So once it's there, anyone can see it, and it's a big difference from the news. They filter everything, it goes through a process, several steps, and there needs to be, I don't know the word, but they need to agree that it's alright for airing and things like that, and certain things they might want to censor for the public, because like Lucas said, at the end of the day, it's the government-controlled industry. They want to filter what they show you, and that's the difference between Twitter. It's unfiltered. Everything you see is what you get. It's right there. So like instant news. So a lot of people who use Twitter, I could see the criticism behind relying on Twitter for your news, but at the same time, everyone's just unfiltered sharing the news.
But then you are choosing the filters that you are listening to. You are choosing the people that you follow.
On one hand, you are choosing the people that you follow, but I feel like news and things like, you're not you don't have a choice in how you find things and where you find things. So on Twitter you could search for things. So let's say the Olympics is going on, you could search for the Olympics, and there's several different viewers that you could just choose what you want to see. It's all there for you. But on the news, it's just one reporter at the scene telling you how it is. So it's like different points of views. I don't know. It's just the platform, social media. It's quite useful. It has a negative view, but I feel like, and people don't take it seriously, but I think it is nowadays really useful to get news.
You're agreeing that?
Oh no, I was just just verbally agreeing on that one.
But I guess there's a bigger question there around, coming back to the question around sexual health, and I guess it comes back to an earlier conversation we were having about whether children make better parents than parents, and this thing of whether we should rely on those sort of traditional post bearers, our teachers. Are our children better teachers? Are we listening to the wrong people? Are we giving voice to the wrong voices?
Speaking of listening to the voices, I really enjoyed Kane's voice in the middle, but he's done a stellar job. First time on the Talkaoke table, give him a round of applause! And I think it's time for changing up of the scenery. We can move around. We're going to swap around with Evie. Evie's going to jump in the middle.